Good morning, class 9. Today we are going to start a new chapter in supplementary reader Ishwaran, the storyteller. The story was narrated to Ganesh by a young man, Mahendra by name. He was a junior supervisor in a firm which offered on hire supervisors at various types of construction sites, factories, bridges, dams, and so on. Mahendra's job was to keep an eye on the activities at the work site. He had to keep moving from place to place every now and then as ordered by his head office. From a coal mining area to a railway bridge construction site, from there after a few months to a chemical plant which was coming up somewhere. He was a bachelor. His needs were simple and he was able to adjust himself to all kinds of odd conditions. Whether it was an ill equipped circuit house or a makeshift canvas tent, makeshift means a temporary canvas tent, in the middle of a stone quarry. Stone quarry means the site for mining, making stones. But one asset he had was his cook, Ishwaran. The cook was quite attached to Mahendra and followed him uncomplainingly wherever he was posted. He cooked for Mahendra, washed his clothes, chatted away with his master at night. He could weave out endless stories and anecdotes on various subjects. So, he was a very good storyteller. Ishwaran also had an amazing capacity to produce vegetables and cooking ingredients seemingly out of nowhere in the middle of a desolate landscape with no shops visible for miles around. He would miraculously conjure means he would magically make up delicious dishes made with fresh vegetables within an hour of arriving of the zinc sheet shelter at a new workplace. So Ishwaran was a good storyteller. Not only was he a good storyteller, but he was a very good cook also. He could prepare dishes very fast. Even if he had a few ingredients, he could prepare delicious food out of those few things available. Mahendra would be up early in the morning and leave for work after breakfast, carrying some prepared food with him. Meanwhile, Ishwaran would tidy up the shed, wash the clothes, and have a leisurely bath, pouring several buckets of water over his head, muttering a prayer all the while. It would be lunchtime by then. After eating, he would read for a while before dozing off. The book was usually some popular Tamil thriller running to hundreds of pages. Its imaginary descriptions and narrative flourishes would hold Ishwaran in thrall. Narrative flourishes means narrative expressions, the way it was narrated, would hold Ishwaran in thrall. That means he could easily control the other person. Control here means that he would keep other people fascinated by the way he used to tell stories. His own descriptions were greatly influenced by the Tamil authors that he read. When he was narrating even the smallest incidents, he would try to work in suspense and a surprise ending into the account. For example, instead of saying that he had come across an uprooted tree on the highway, he would say, with eyebrows suitably arched and hands held out in a dramatic gesture, the road was deserted and I was all alone. Suddenly, I spotted something that looked like an enormous bushy beast lying sprawled across the road. So he would not, when he narrated any story, he did not say that in a simple and a straight manner. He created a lot of scene, he created thrill among the people. Those who were listening to him, they were totally involved in the way he used to tell the stories. I was half inclined to turn and go back, but as I came closer, I saw that it was a fallen tree with its dry branches spreading out. Mahendra would stretch himself back in his canvas chair and listen to Ishwaran's tales uncritically. That means he did not criticize, he did not pass any remark, he just used to enjoy the way Ishwaran told stories. The place I come from is famous for timber. Ishwaran would begin. There is a richly wooded forest all around. The logs are hauled onto the lorries by elephants. Hauled means they are pulled into the lorries by elephants. They are huge, well fed beasts. When they turn wild, even the most experienced mahout is not able to control them. After this prologue is the speech which he is giving, Ishwaran would launch into an elaborate anecdote involving an elephant. That means he told an elaborate story. One day, a tusker escaped from the timber yard and began to roam about. Tusker is the elephant. One day, a tusker escaped from the timber yard and began to roam about, stamping on bushes, tearing up wild creepers, and breaking branches at will. That means he was destroying whatever he wanted to destroy. You know, sir, how an elephant behaves when it goes mad. Ishwaran would get so caught up in the excitement of his own story that he would get up from the floor and jump about, stamping his feet in emulation of the mad elephant. The elephant reached the outskirts of our town. Breaking the fences down like matchsticks, he would continue. It came into the main road and smashed all the stalls selling fruits, mud pots, and clothes. People ran helter and skelter in panic. Helter and skelter means they ran here and there in panic. The elephant now entered a school ground where children were playing, breaking through the brick wall. All the boys ran into the classrooms and shut the doors tight. The beast grunted and wandered about, pulling out the football goal post, tearing down the volleyball net, kicking and flattening the drum kept for water, and uprooting the shrubs. Meanwhile, all the teachers had climbed up to the terrace of the school building. From there, they helplessly watched the depredations of the elephant. Depredation of the elephant means the act of consuming crops. How the elephant was destroying everything and he was eating the crops grown there. There was not a soul below on the ground. The streets were empty, as if the inhabitants of the entire town had suddenly disappeared. I was studying in the junior class at that time and was watching the whole drama from the rooftop. I don't know what came over me suddenly. I grabbed a cane from the hands of one of the teachers and ran down the stairs and into the open. The elephant grunted and menacingly swung a branch of a tree which it held in its trunk. So see how the elephant was just in a mood to destroy everything around. It stamped its feet and kicking up a lot of mud and dust. It looked frightening. But I moved slowly towards it, stick in hand. People were watching the scene, hypnotized from nearby house tops. The elephant looked at me red-eyed, ready to rush towards me. It lifted its trunk and trumpeted loudly. At that moment, I moved forward and, mustering all my force, wagged its third toenail to the quick, on the quick. The beast looked stunned for a moment. Then it shivered from head to toe, head to foot, and collapsed. At this point, Ishwaran would leave the story unfinished and get up mumbling, I will be back after lighting the gas and warming up the dinner. Mahendra, who had been listening with rapt attention, means full attention, would be left hanging. Would be left hanging means he was just waiting for Ishwaran to return back so that he could listen to the complete story. When he returned, Ishwaran would not pick up the thread of the story right away. Mahendra would have to remind him that the conclusion was pending. Well, a veterinary doctor was summoned to revive the animal. Called, summoned means called. Ishwaran would shrug casually, lift his shoulders casually. 2 days later, it was led away by its mahout to the jungle. Well, how did you manage to do it, Ishwaran? How did you bring down the beast? Mahendra is asking him. It has something to do with a Japanese art, I think, sir. Karate or Jiu-Jitsu, it is called. I had read about it somewhere. It temporarily paralyzes the nervous system, you see. Not a day passed without Ishwaran recounting some story packed with adventure, horror, and suspense. Whether the story was credible or not, means was it believable or not. Mahendra enjoyed listening to it because of the inimitable way, that means the way which nobody can imitate, nobody can copy, inimitable way in which it was told. Ishwaran seemed to more than make up for the absence of a TV in Mahendra's living quarters. Ishwaran seemed to more than make up for the absence of a TV. That means at that times there was no television, but Ishwaran used to entertain Mahendra so much that he did not miss anything. If there was no TV, he did not get bored. One morning, when Mahendra was having breakfast, Ishwaran asked, Can I make something special for dinner tonight, sir? After all, today is an auspicious day. According to tradition, we prepare various delicacies to feed the spirits of our ancestors today, sir. That night, Mahendra enjoyed the most delicious dinner and complimented Ishwaran for his culinary skill. Culinary skill means for his skill of cooking. He seemed very pleased but unexpectedly launched into a most garish account. Garish is too colorful. Most garish account involving the supernatural. You know, sir, this entire factory area we are occupying was once a burial ground. Now he starts another story. He started. Mahendra was jerked out of the pleasant reverie he had drifted into after the satisfying meal. Reverie means he was dreaming. He was daydreaming. After enjoying his meal, Mahendra was relaxing as if he was in a dream. And suddenly, as soon as Ishwaran told him that this place where we are staying, the entire factory area was once a burial ground. At this, Mahendra was shocked and he woke up. I knew on the first day itself when I saw a human skull lying on the path. Even now, I come across a number of skulls and bones, Ishwaran continued. He went on to narrate how he sometimes saw ghosts at night. But I am not really frightened by these things, sir. I am a brave fellow. But one horrible ghost of a woman which appears off and on at midnight during the full moon. It is an ugly creature with matted hair and a shriveled face. Shriveled means wrinkled face. Like a skeleton holding a fetus in its arms. Mahendra shivered at the description and interrupted rather sharply. You are crazy, Ishwaran. There are no such things as ghosts or spirits. It is all a figment. That means it is fiction. It is not real. It is all figment of your imagination. Get your digestive system examined and maybe your head as well. You are talking nonsense. So Mahendra says that I don't believe in what you are saying. I don't believe anything in ghosts or spirits. You are talking nonsense. He left the room and retired for the night, expecting Ishwaran to sulk for a couple of days. But the next morning he was surprised to find the cook as cheerful and talkative as ever. From that day on, Mahendra, for all his brave talk, went to bed with a certain unease. Every night he peered into the darkness outside through the window next to his bed. Now, somewhere or the other, the story of ghosts and spirits which have been narrated by Ishwaran, they had made an impact on the mind of Mahendra. And whenever he used to lie down on his bed, every night he used to look outside at the sky, trying to make sure that there was no movement of dark shapes in the vicinity. But he could only see a sea of darkness with the twinkling lights of factory miles away. He had always liked to admire the milk-white landscapes on full moon nights. But after hearing Ishwaran's story of the female ghost, he avoided looking out of the window altogether when the moon was full. So such was an impact of the stories narrated by Ishwaran. One night, Mahendra was woken up from his sleep by a low moan close to his window. Low moan means somebody was crying in a low voice. At first, he put it down to a cat prowling around for mice. At first, he thought that maybe there is a cat who is chasing a mice. But the sound was too guttural. That means it was a harsh sound for a cat. He believed that cats don't make such harsh sounds. He resisted the curiosity to look out, lest he should behold a sight which would stop his heart. Although he wanted to look outside and see from where this sound was coming, but he was afraid also, and he felt scared. He felt that if he will see something, he will see some ghost or something outside, his heart will stop working. But the wailing became louder. Wailing means this sound became louder and louder and less feline. Feline means cat-like. The sound was becoming louder and it was not appearing like a cat was making a sound. He could not resist the temptation anymore. Lowering himself to the level of the window sill, he looked out at the white sheet of moonlight outside. There, not too far away, was a dark, cloudy form clutching a bundle. Mahendra broke into a cold sweat and fell back on the pillow, panting. Means he was breathing very fast because he was nervous now. As he gradually recovered from the ghastly experience, ghastly means ghost-like appearance, he began to reason with himself and finally concluded that it must have been some sort of auto-suggestion, some trick that his subconscious had played on him. He was trying to console that he is just thinking something is there in his subconscious mind. Actually, there is no ghost in reality. He was trying to console himself. By the time he had got up in the morning, had a bath and come out to have his breakfast, The horror of the previous night had faded from his memory. Ishwaran greeted him at the door with his lunch packet and his bag. Just as Mahendra was stepping out, Ishwaran grinned and said, "Sir, remember the other day I was telling you about the female ghost with the fetus in its arms? You were so angry with me for imagining things. Well, you saw her yourself last night. I came running, hearing the sound of moaning that was coming from your room." A chill went down Mahendra's spine. Now, listening to this from Ishwaran, Mahendra was very scared. He was very nervous. He did not wait for Ishwaran to complete his sentence. He hurried away to his office and handed in his papers, resolving to leave the haunted place the very next day. So he decided to leave that place because it was a haunted place. He also started believing that there were ghosts, there were spirits, and he decided to move to some other place to live there forever. So this is how the stories which people narrate, how the narration of the story can put a deep impact on the mind of a person. This we have seen through Ishwaran, the storyteller. Read the story again and enjoy it once more. Thank you, children.